Okay. Ian, we need a crypto leader for the streets. Will you be our crypto Malcolm X? I mean, Malcolm X is the homie. For those who don't know, Malcolm X is my favorite person in all of history. For those who watch the 100X show, whenever you hear me say, who've been the most inspirational people? When I ask other people that, so if you had to ask me who've been the most inspirational people to me, Malcolm X, the autobiography of Malcolm X, I mean, that book changed my life. Um, Without getting too deep into it, but I mean, so you guys can probably tell, like, Malcolm X was somebody who changed his life. He transformed his entire life. He went from being somebody who was basically in the hood, messing around, getting into trouble. For those who don't know, Malcolm X was a civil rights activist in America back in the 1960s. He got arrested. Actually, kind of the irony, he got arrested by the police because he was dating a white woman. So his friends, they basically committed a crime. I think it was a robbery or a house robbery or whatever. His friends just basically got a slap on the wrist, but because he was a black man in the 1960s during segregation, basically, was dating a white woman, got put in jail. And when he was put in jail, his entire life changed. He began just reading books and knowledge. And one of the most popular quotes by him is that a single book can change somebody's entire life, right? And to me, that was very inspirational because somebody can change entire life and go from basically being somebody who gets into trouble to becoming one of the biggest voices during the civil rights era. All right. And yes, he was different. He was different from Martin Luther King. Martin Luther King had more of the, turn the other cheek mentality, meaning that for those who don't know, it comes from a Christian mentality, meaning that if somebody hits you, right, you turn the other cheek and have them hit you as well. It's a non-violent philosophy. Now, Malcolm X had a totally different philosophy. This is where the media and the FUD kind of twist his words around, right? He was not a violent person, right? But he had a philosophy called tit for tat. It's basically a game theory philosophy. For those out there who are into game theory, it basically says that from a game theory standpoint, in any population or in any kind of game theory environment, if you're playing a long-term game, meaning that it's a game that's repeated several times, it's not just a one-off event, right? The best strategy from a mathematical standpoint is to do what the other side does. If the other side is nice, you're also nice. However, if the other side, the game theory term is if they defect, right, you also defect, if that makes sense, right? So applied in terms of his philosophy during the civil rights era, he basically said that he was going to be peaceful, but if the Ku Klux Klan came and burned his house down, he would defend himself and burn the house down, basically. But without kind of getting into the politics of that, because he definitely is a controversial figure, he was inspiring to me because he did not step down from controversy. Like he spoke his mind. I mean, imagine the era he was in, to speak your mind in a time where you barely had any rights to even speak your mind, right? So he was inspirational because he changed his life around through books, but also by being willing to stand up for what he believes in, even to a point where he got assassinated for it. And then also the downside of that, it was supposedly by his own people. Some people think it was conspiracy or the FBI, whatever, but that's neither here nor there, right? Either way, he basically got assassinated. He died for his beliefs. And I think same thing with Martin Luther King, right? Two people who had two different views, both activists, died for their beliefs. And I think in a way there's inspiration in that. I'm not saying go out there and die for your beliefs per se, but I'm saying that, I mean, sometimes you have to kind of speak up for what you believe in, right? So that's why he's one of my favorite person in history. I mean, all the people I like have always been very vocal, right? From Malcolm X to Muhammad Ali to, I mean, even Kanye West. I mean, people who tell it like it is. And I think that kind of rubs off on me. So going back to your earlier, to the person's statement saying being the Malcolm X for crypto, I mean, in a way, I tried, right? But obviously, for those of you who follow me for a while, you know that I've kind of not been as vocal online because I mean, I realized that I didn't really have to per se, right? Because I'm kind of like building my own audience and following as opposed to having trying to kind of get the cosign from other people in crypto, right? Because one of the philosophies, whether it's Malcolm X or even Friedrich Nietzsche, is you do not need a cosign from anybody, right? And one thing I'm doing is as we're building Token Metrics is we don't need a cosign from anybody. I mean, I could sit here and tell you about how I think it's unfair that, you know, as a black man, I built a pretty good business, right? And the business, even before we launched the software company, right, tokenmetrics.com, we were making over 7 figures, right? Yet it was still very tough and challenging for us to even raise capital from VCs, right? I could talk about how, you know, I feel like there's racism in crypto VCs or whatever, but I mean, that's neither here nor there, right? I said, you know what? That's cool. Don't need any cosign. We're gonna do this our own way, no matter what. Build it from the ground up. Only raised from just family and friends. I mean, now Token Metrics is making more than 6 figures. Growth last month has been over 100%. Monthly recurring, yeah. So basically, Token Metrics is blowing up. And the goal is by the end of the year is to make 7 figures with Token Metrics. And imagine if, because I know businesses, entrepreneurs in crypto raising money with the same numbers we have or even less, right? But you know what? I'm not going to try to kind of justify it. All I know is at the end of the day, you do you, right? You don't have to get a cosign from anybody. And the fact that you can be self-sufficient without a cosign is what gives you power, right? That will to power, as Nietzsche says, right? Because I know so many, I mean, there's so many different ways to go with it, right? I know lots of other minorities or whatever who say that, hey, you have to be twice as good to get half the results. Okay, if that's the case, that's fine, right? But at the end of the day, I think being self-sufficient is definitely the way to go, right? So, I mean, in terms of the crypto community, I mean, I'm not looking for a cosign from them, yeah, because while the crypto community has been good and positive, you know, some people in it, right? A good portion of the community is toxic, as I've mentioned before. I think in the last live stream, a good portion is toxic, right? Because I mean, there's so many times where people just throw my name under the bus. I mean, I've gotten death threats, not just on me, but my family, my siblings. I mean, that's where it crosses the line. I mean, that's kind of why I don't really put myself out there like that anymore, because I mean, the people who want to find me, they'll find me, right? The community and everything. But trying to talk about all the FUD on crypto Twitter, right? Because people will spread FUD about somebody. That's actually a quote by Malcolm X as well. He says that the media will have you believing, you know, lies more than the truth, basically, right? But you know, I got hacked, and people try to spin that around, saying I faked my hack for taxes. I mean, like, really? I mean, when somebody is at a low point in life, at one of their lowest points, you're spreading lies about that, and then publications are reporting the lies like they're truth. I mean, that's when I said, you know what? You know, forget all this. I'm just gonna do me. You know, us and our team are gonna build our own empire. You know, and then when they try to come here for us to co-sign, I'll be like, on this day you're doing. I'm kidding. But I mean, hey, we don't forget. You know, we may forgive, but we don't forget. All right. So you know, those people who were not there with us in the trenches, those people who are not there with us shooting in the gym, you know, once you blow up, and they come crawling to you asking for favors, I mean, hey, we don't forget. One quote from Oprah is, she says something like this. I'm paraphrasing. You don't want somebody who's with you when you're rich. No, I'm sorry. You don't want somebody who will take the limo with you, but sorry. You don't want somebody. Actually, you know what? Let me just pull up this quote here, because I'm butchering this. Oprah. So the quote is, as I pull up the quote here. So the quote is, everyone wants to ride with you in the limo, but what you want is someone who will take the bus with you when the limo breaks down. And you know what? I'll be honest, in 2018, the limo broke down. That spaceship to the moon, it broke down. And I got us to really know who was there with me. And I mean, thank you to everybody who's still here with us. But hey, now we know, right? We know the people who were there with us when the limo broke down and we're taking a bus. Because once that limo comes back and we're taking that spaceship, like SpaceX, to the moon and beyond, I mean, and they ask for a ride, I mean, we know they weren't there with us, right? So that's kind of my take on it. So in terms of, I mean, so like kind of like with this show today, I definitely did try to kind of speak up about it, right? Obviously, everything is really determined by the audience, right? Because I don't want to get too much into politics, because it's not really why we're doing token metrics. I mean, we're a crypto show, but if we do see injustice in the world, we definitely do want to speak about it. I mean, whether or not my staff has different opinions and what have you, and I don't really care what the crypto world thinks, honestly, right? Because I mean, most of them were not really there, when we were taking the bus, right? And now that our channel is blowing up, right? I mean, because first of all, thank you to everybody who's subscribed to Token Metrics YouTube channel. Our channel has grown more than 100% in the last 1 month. So thank you everybody for all the support. I mean, at this rate, we're about to blow up this channel, just like we did my personal channel, Diary of a Made Man, right? So thank you for all the support. I mean, so back to the question, we don't really need to be a voice per se for other people in crypto. I mean, we're our own voice. We're independent, right? This kind of comes from the Nietzschean philosophy, right? Because you don't want to have all of your views ascribed to just a herd, right? Because herd mentality is not really the way to go. You want to be an individual, right? So it's really it's a philosophy about being a separate individual. Yes, we can empathize and understand the issues affecting a group of people, right? But it's really an anti-collectivism philosophy, right? It's really about the individual, right? So if you want to better a group of people, it's kind of better to better the individual. It's kind of like at the individual level, not really the group level. So it's really anti-group think. Now that's not to say that we can't speak up for groups per se, right? What I'm saying is everything starts at the individual, right? And that's really what it's all about. But yeah, I mean, thank you for that comment. Definitely appreciate it. And crypto family in the house.